four of our former graduates again, and in whose progress I take great pleasure. It is indeed good to see you again, and I must say, watch out. I do indeed watch your progress. Bask in reflected glory as I see you progressing through your careers. But as I look at it, Isabella, you're top left corner for me. So I'm going to ask you first again. I know you graduated in 2017, but I look back through the email addresses I had for you. I had one in Good Bodies, I had one in Central Bank of Ireland, Wisdom Tree, and now PIMCO. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that career path, if you don't mind, and whether in fact the MITB had anything to do with that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian, and hello, everyone. It's very nice to meet you.
Hi.
So I feel, can you hear me okay, first of all?
Sure, yeah.
Great. I feel like I should give first a little bit of background as to why I joined the Masters to begin with, and I promise I'm going to be as brief as possible. I was working in an Italian asset management company called Anima, based in Dublin. And they had this team of quants who were managing the structured products desk, and we were in meetings often, in risk management meetings, product launch meetings, or so at product development stage. And I was a compliance officer, and I often found myself really not being capable of understanding what they were really talking about most of the time, if I'm being honest. So they were talking about pricing derivatives, they were talking about collateral, about hedging strategies, about even topics that were directly pertaining to my role, such as risk management. I did do my best to understand. I did my research, my background research, regulations and whatnot, but I still struggled to understand the technical side of the things. So this is what drove me to join the Masters. And yes, Brian, I did change a few jobs since I finished the Masters. I moved to, after I finished the Masters, I moved to the Central Bank of Ireland. And actually, I remember during my interview that I was actually, they made a very positive observation on the fact that I had finished the Masters. And I had the impression, from after I joined, I realized that a lot of people in the central bank, in my team, had completed the Masters as well. So I had the impression that it was almost, it was definitely one of the reasons that they considered my application in the first place. And moving on from there, I moved to Wisdom Tree. Why Wisdom Tree? Well, Wisdom Tree is a issuer of exchange traded funds and exchange traded commodities and currencies. And I think my move to Wisdom Tree actually relates to the Masters quite a lot, because in my dissertation, the topic of my dissertation involves studying ETFs quite significantly. And so I in my dissertation, just to give you the title of it, it was about timing your portfolio based on the volatility in the market. And the cheapest product that I could have incorporated in my virtual portfolio was ETFs. So I've started nurturing this interest for ETFs, and became more and more passionate, if you will. And from there, I moved to Wisdom Tree because they were obviously experts in ETFs, and it helped me so much, tremendously. The knowledge that I had acquired from the Masters and from studying for my dissertation really supported me substantially in my role in Wisdom Tree. From there, I moved to PIMCO, where is my current role. And I'm still working with ETFs to an extent, but also with fixed income, as you would imagine. And again, the Masters is proving very, very helpful, because it's equipped me with that technical side of knowledge. I'm sorry, I think I spoke for way too long. I apologize.
And finally, how's Leonardo doing?
He's in the background chewing on a on a toy.
Good stuff. Okay, thanks very much, Isabella. Anthony, going around the screen as I see it. You're next, Anthony. Your email address hasn't changed during all this period. I'm glad to see. What's an accountant doing doing the masters in investment treasury and banking? You're on mute, Anthony. You're on mute. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me here. I am a chartered accountant, and that's one of the confusing things that Brian observed when I came to him in 2012, asking him about this program. My first degree was in pure finance, and then I also did my CPA, and I got chartered in 2001, and then I worked for 6 years in audit. In Ireland, I was working for SAP for 4 years in corporate treasury, and I was also reporting accountant for 6 entities here to Germany. My fascination with the program was especially its technical skills. I looked at all the MBA programs. I thought they were too expensive, and they were basically a jack of all trades. It was like a buffet of things that you were just glossing over in case, the outside chance you get promoted to becoming a manager, vice president, or director level. But I think for me, the decision to do MITB, I've never regretted it. And even though I still work in industry, I work in the software industry for SAP now for 12 years, I have found various attributes about myself were sharpened, were refined, I was taught to become a critical thinker. And credit to the fantastic work that Brian did on us, as well as Liam Gallagher, who was my professor, supervising professor for my dissertation. Now, my dissertation was in macroeconomics. And second year, when we were doing the research project, that's when I came alive, because everything else was painful up to that point. All the complex mathematics, all the financial modeling, all the market regulation and everything else. But in terms of transformation, I will tell you, not only have I been a top performer as a manager and also individual contributor in various global projects that we've done here in SAP since I left the program, but I will say that I have influenced so many people who've worked with me, who've reported to me in terms of their own critical thinking, technical abilities, financial modeling, as well as looking at things from an end-to-end perspective. And I think that whoever is going to participate in this program, you really have to ask yourself for what you will receive from the program in terms of your own professional growth, in terms of how you think, how you examine evidence, how you read the different markets, how you look at all sorts of financial, complex financial instruments and everything else. What are you going to give back to your employer, to those who work around you, and also to those who will come to you for mentorship? I think that's the most important thing that I have enjoyed ever since I started on this program, and ever since I graduated from this program. It's been a success all through. Yeah, nothing to regret whatsoever on my end.
And not to put you on the spot, when do we see you back for the PhD, Anthony? Is it still a possibility?
No, you see, that's actually a very good question, because one of the pieces of advice I would give to anyone who's either in the program right now, or who's thinking of applying for the program, or who has graduated from the program, don't wait too long, because the PhD dissertation topic I had in mind was going to blend robotic process automation, complex analytics, and macroeconomics. And this, I started singing to Brian and Liam about it in 2015. And it sounded like a futuristic concept. And right now we are seeing what is happening in industry. Between 2021 and 2030, all organizations will have one form of RPA automation and all kinds of business intelligence platforms and complex analytics, which are taking over, and human end users are then being reduced to decision makers, because behavioral finance, you cannot necessarily be able to model it into an RPA, because the RPA will need to apply a lot of machine learning to be able to capture correct, because at best, behavioral finance tends to be rational, if you ask me. Yeah. So do your PhD as soon as you can. Thank you.
Good. So Rachel, again, you came to us with a BCom and ACCA and so on like that. So what did the MITB add to it? Because I mean, there was already a very full CV before you came, and you'd already been a dealer working in Treasury. So in a sense, were you overqualified for the? What did you think? Or what did this add to your should we say your CV?
Yeah, I mean, at the time when I came to do the master's, I was working in sales and execution on the foreign exchange and interest rate desk in Ulster Bank, and I had hoped to move on to the large corporate desk to get involved in some of the more interesting transactions. So Ulster Bank, with the RBS, being part of the RBS group, would have had a great reputation for being involved in structured finance deals, syndicated transactions, and private placements. So I wanted to move in that direction, and I suppose in order to make that step up, I needed to be, I suppose, credible and then confident in myself that I could take part in, as Isabella was saying, those discussions around pricing of complex transactions. So that was probably my motivation in starting the course. The way things have gone now, everything is so automated, the system will spit out a price, but you're no good to anybody if you don't understand where that price came from. So, and if it's wrong, you need to understand if there's an error in there somewhere, if something doesn't look right. So that was my motivation. And through doing the course and, learning all about the background to the pricing of derivatives and all that kind of stuff, I was able to make that move during the course, and then after the course I was promoted to vice president, or portfolio director we call it, on the NatWest markets side of the business, working with the large corporate. So it was fantastic for me in understanding that side of things, but I think as well the part that I probably didn't anticipate going in was the wider understanding that it gave me of the whole banking system, really. The financial regulation side of things, kind of the strategic piece of it. And that has probably come into good use for me in the last couple of years, since I've moved from a frontline sales role into a risk role. So I'm currently working in enterprise risk, and we would see a good umbrella view of all of this material and strategic risks and decisions that are made throughout the bank. And that's probably where pieces of the course that I didn't use before in my old role, I'm now using now, and it's given me a good understanding of, we're touching on every area of the bank. So, I have a good base level of understanding of what is going on in Treasury, what's going on in the credit departments, all that kind of stuff. So that's been a real help to me in the last couple of years. Yeah.
And tell us, do you think you could have covered the course if you had the family size you now have compared to then? I mean, is it something that you need to be single, or else a very understanding spouse?
It might be a good motivation, Brian, because I'd have an excuse to get out or to lock myself away for a few hours every week. But yeah, I mean, look, at the time, I probably, had so much free time that I didn't realize that I had, but you find a way. And if nothing else, it's a serious lesson in time management and working with other people and around their priorities. So yeah, I mean, look, it's always daunting at the outset, but I always found that nothing, you'd have assignments, but they never piled up on each other. They were kind of spread out, so you could just keep, if you keep chipping away at it, you'll get there eventually. And I found everybody on the course really, really helpful. And, I had, the working knowledge of derivatives, that kind of things, but I might be in a group with somebody who works in the central bank and they have a completely different area of expertise, and you just pull together to help each other through. But yeah, I don't know.
And Luke, you took the road less traveled. Not everybody has a career with the Lions and Leinster and Ireland and so on like that. Before they start the course, obviously you were out of education for a period. How did you find coming back to it and so on like that? And how was the transition from basically being a rugby star to being an actual MITB student?
Thanks very much for the introduction there, Brian, and great to hear from all the other panelists. I feel a little bit out of my depth, as Brian alluded to. I'm fairly, newish to my business career. So I suppose, yeah, I mean, it was a big change coming from getting my kind of head beaten around for a living to going to try and get my head beaten around by keeping up with Brian and his derivatives course. It certainly was a big change, but I suppose I found myself after 10 years of playing professional rugby at 28, having to play catch up really with people who've been in a business career or further in their own career for probably 10 years or so before me. So I realized very quickly that there was a knowledge gap. I had done a little bit of research about what I wanted to do next. And, the course, Brian obviously has done some courses around credit through the bank and had a bit of, a few interactions with a few people I knew. And obviously I knew he was, directing the course. So I reached out to see if there was an opportunity to get on and, further the knowledge. I mean, look, in terms of my business career at the time I met Brian, I had just started off in AIB Treasury. Actually in the same role or a similar enough role to Rachel there. So it was interesting to hear you talk about your start as well in foreign exchange, because that was where I started as well on the sales desk. And I've only just recently made a move. But I suppose I wanted to get into a more technical role and I wanted to give myself options. And I suppose I'd heard that the MITB course, there was a few people in Treasury who had done it and spoke really highly of it, and how it really equipped them to help flourish in their career and to find opportunities, or to widen, I suppose, the scope of opportunities that are available to you. So that was the real appeal of the course to me. I had explored a few other ones, but I think as well, from a financial standpoint, it really did, it's very attractive. I think, you did all, my brother is at the moment in Smurfit, and we did all the same coursework that they did. But for a very, very reasonable price, I think, for what you get out of it and for the advantages it does give you in your career going forward. So that was where I landed on it. In terms of my experience in the course, I'd echo what all the other panelists have said. I just found, you always, I think, in your life, in whatever you're doing to get the best out of yourself, need to be mixing with people who are possibly better equipped or ahead of you in the journey. I certainly, that was my experience in on the course. I found my classmates and the lecturers brilliant, and the knowledge they imparted upon me was brilliant and really helped, give me confidence, I think, and give me a better understanding of the more technical aspects, particularly coming from a base of pretty much zero in terms of, maybe not zero, but pretty close to the bottom end of the range. In terms of my education, I definitely had left that a little bit behind and hadn't expected to be finishing my career at 28. So I found the course brilliant in that respect, and my classmates really brought me along, and I have some friends there for life. And in terms of the career and where I'm at the moment, I did say that I did the course to help me, I guess, was get into a more technical role. Currently working, or just got a role there in February, in AIB and syndicated and international finance there. So I suppose leverage finance to some of you will know it maybe as that area. And that was purely down to, I think, the confidence that I had from the course, and that I'd be able to, deal with the more technical aspects. But also that, I think it gave me a bit of credibility. I think Rachel mentioned that as well. To go for a more technical role, having come from probably a more sales dominated role, which I felt was a really good starting point for me, given that I had probably a bit of public speaking and a bit of notoriety from the rugby. That was a natural starting point for me. But I did feel that my interest was more in the technical space, and MITB was brilliant for that. So I hope I didn't ramble on too long there, but that was, I couldn't speak more highly of the course. And Brian, just, while I did sweat in your classes, I found them to be, an amazing learning experience. And I could speak the same about all the other lecturers as well. It was a really great experience through DCU. And there were definitely periods where I had some personal stuff that made it a little bit challenging, and the college were really, really understanding, and as were my classmates. So it was a brilliant experience for me, and I couldn't speak more highly of it.
Thank you very much, Luke. I think you're a little bit, you're being too modest, like with lots of things about your life now, in fairness. But actually kind of making post that, Luke.
Well, Toshe, Byron, Viren, So we're there and 3 hour ish, Brian, yeah, and 3 o'clock. So Tommy kind of Bialta Miam over Fih, go minus a Fih do and ish. So yeah, Toshi.
That's still going to again coronavirus team marketing.
Brian, as you'd say, I'm short the option, and she has lots of time. So I'm just happy to still be in the fight. She hasn't exercised her option to leave yet. So
and one final question: we can't have you here without asking you, what do you reckon today? Will Johnny's boots sort us out again?
Oh, Brian, I'm not as confident about the rugby match today, unfortunately. I think we'll miss James Ryan. I think it's always a very physical battle against the English team. They're always usually very well equipped in that respect. So I think our 6-day turnaround might go against us as well. I live in hope rather than expectation. So hopefully we do the business, but it'll be a difficult one today. I'm looking forward to it actually now. So I'm hoping everyone else is going to have a little tune in as well, because I think they'll need all the support they can get.
Okay, we can always catch your podcast later anyway. Look, I won't delay you. Look, thank you all very much for coming. It's as I say, I mean, you're what we have here is a variety of students. Again, obviously Luke graduated last year, and obviously we have others graduated in earlier years. You can see that they've taken very diverse paths, but again, for very different reasons. And thankfully, I have to say, in all of them, they worked out very well. So it's, as I say, I take great pleasure in seeing them progress the way they've done. So all I would say is I don't think there's any further. We're over time, so I won't delay.